speak pretty quickly, so just let me know if I need to slow down. And definitely, it's a small group. I'm not sure how many are. Do we know how many are on this Facebook Live?
Not as of quite yet, but that's okay.
Well, as they come.
Yes, if I have questions, I will
yes,
pass them over to you.
Definitely. But it's a small group, so feel free to stop me, ask me questions. The presentation is in y'all's folder, so if y'all want to walk along with that, but or you just hang out with PowerPoint too. Yeah, like Carrie said, I'm with the Paro Autism Center. I'm their clinical director. This is some of the stuff that we're going to be going over today. Of course, like I said, if y'all have questions about anything, please feel free to ask. It doesn't have to be in a specific order. If we're almost there, then I'll hold on. But definitely, I'd love as much interaction as you'd like to give me today. So we'll go through just some basics of ABA. Have y'all been in ABA before? Okay. So we'll go through just a little bit of that pretty quickly, especially since you're not familiar with ABA. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty about the behavior parts of it. So the ABCs of ABA, the functions of ABCs of behavior, the functions of behavior. So why are our kids engaging in these behaviors? Some clinical examples that we've done. I've got one per function, and then some visual support stuff too. But definitely in that piece of it, I'd love to hear examples of things that y'all are struggling with, and know that I'm giving you feedback and advice, but please know I don't know your child or who you're talking about. So please don't say, "Well, Amanda said to do this." But definitely, take it with as much honesty as you'd like to. But definitely always consult a BCBA to make sure that you're on that right track too. We always want to make sure we're doing more the best treatment that we can for our kiddos. Alrighty. So just a little bit about APARA, just so that y'all know what we do. Like I said, we just opened the end of July. As I said earlier, we're at about kiddo number 23 at capacity at one time in the building, because kids' schedules fluctuate. We can have about 24 kiddos. Right now we're almost there, but like I said, our schedules fluctuate. Our building's open 8 to 6 at this point, so we've got kids scattered throughout that from 8 to 6. We do everything individualized as far as hours go. So we do have a minimum of 10 hours because we want to make sure we're not doing harm to our children by not giving them what they need with those hours. But we also have kids that go up to 35 hours as well, 40, which includes the parent training and supervision, all that stuff too. So we've got a wide range of scheduling that we can do with our families. We are excited to announce we'll be opening our second location in Katy, hopefully right around I-10 Greenhouse area, hopefully in the first quarter of 2020. It's exciting. We had such great success with this clinic and growing so quickly that obviously there's still a need with the amount of ABA centers in Houston. We just want to make sure that we're providing that excellent kind of like what Carrie said, that center of excellence of care for our families too. Though we're growing, our clinical model isn't dropping and it isn't changing. It's always just changing for the good. So we do have at our we call it our Brisbane site. That's the street that we're on. We have 4 BCBAs now, myself included, and we have 15 RBTs. We're in the process. Like I said, we got that number 23 kiddos, so we're hiring more RBTs as we're getting those kiddos in or before they start. And it's really exciting for me to say, all the RBTs that we're hiring all have it. It's a wide range, but at least a year to 8 years of experience as an RBT. So we've got really skilled RBTs working with us and our kids too. So that's exciting for us. Age-wise of what we're working with, we're trying to do the whole gamut. Of course, it just depends on when kids are here in the appropriate. It's obviously an 18-year-old with a 20-month-old in the same room probably isn't a very good idea. But that's the age range that we're looking at. And our youngest, like I said, is 20 months, and our oldest is 12 right now. So, any questions about that before? Okay. So a little bit about ABA. Of course, everything we do is science-based and evidence-based. we've got a great crew that does the research for us and then writes those white papers for us and lets us know, okay, this is what's working, this isn't what's working. Things that are getting updated every day, and that research goes back to the 1960s too. So we've got a lot of knowledge in our back pocket of what we need to do with some behaviors. I know ABA is kind of this more recent of a new thing for autism, but it does, the next title show, we can work with it across the board in all different environments and different places. I'm going to kind of skip over some of this stuff so y'all know all this. Like I said, everything that we do is individualized. So, you know, if Johnny comes in the door and he's 12 doing blah, 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 we're going to work with him in this way. If Susie comes in the door and she's 12 doing blah, 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 we're going to work with her in this way. So everything is individualized down to the T in their treatment plan. One thing I do always like to point out is just who is really supposed to be providing ABA services. There's a lot of people out there that are saying that they're behavior specialist or ABA specialist or just a behavior analyst, things like that. But just make sure as you're referring to people and or as professionals and as parents, as you're going to see people, making sure that they do have their certification. You're able to verify everybody that you work with in the ABA field on our board's website, and all the way down to an RBT. And RBT now is a national certification, so their names are on our board registry as well. So you're able to see their name, the city that they're in, and the year they got their certification too. So I think it's just important to make sure that, you know, you're doing the best that you can with your kids too. This is just a little graphic of, you know, what is ABA. We make sure that everything we do is measurable. You got to be able to see that change. Observable. It's socially significant. So, you know, I always give the example when I'm teaching something. I'm going to teach somebody what a cup is before I teach them what a rocket ship is, right? Because they're going to see that cup first. When it comes down to behaviors, what is that behavior that's most important to their everyday life rather than down the road type of thing? So is it socially significant? Is it going to make their day and their life better for them when we work on these skills? Again, going back to the research, everything we do is based on that research. Data collection, I'm sure you all know everything we do is based on data. I love looking at graphs, and in fact, last night when I was going back through this, I realized I didn't put any graphs in here. But it was too late to change it, so just pretend there's great behavior graphs, but we'll talk about some stuff too. The meaningful change piece of it, again, we're making sure that it's going to help that child function more independently in their life, whether it's at home, school, the community, you know, the grocery store, the train station, anything, but it needs to be meaningful, and meaningful for that person we're working with, that individual, as well as their family too. Just because I think it's something that they actually need doesn't mean that it's going to be meaningful for them too. So we're looking at all those aspects of it. And then the big word generalization, I'm sure you have all heard everybody say, did it generalize? Did it generalize? Can you do it somewhere else? So looking at that, you know, I always tell my parents when they come in, it's awesome that they can do it here within our 4 walls. But if they can't do it at home, they can't do it at the grocery store, it doesn't mean too much to them anymore. So that's where a parent training component really comes into play, that we need to generalize things at home and have that consistency piece of it. So this is a little word cloud of where you can use ABA. Again, ABA is based on the principles of reinforcement. So if you're telling somebody or something that they're doing a good job, they're more likely to continue doing that if they like that good job, obviously. But you know, again, we talked about in education, obviously in autism, in health psychology with family members, like Carrie said. One of my lines with parents the first day in is, you know, your spouse always asks you to go do something for them. You reinforce that behavior, so don't do it. And maybe they'll do something else for you, right? But the principles that we're teaching our kids, you can use them across the board anywhere. There's a whole part of the business, the OBM, Organizational Behavior Management, working with large corporations and helping employees work better, basically, be better employees as well. So again, using still the principles of reinforcement too. So it's a fun one. So I wanted to go through this first process too before we got actually into the behavior. I do think it's important that when we're looking at the behavior piece of it and the behavior plan, we're looking at that whole child as well. It's not just, okay, what is he doing wrong? Why is he having these problem behaviors? But where else are those pieces that he's missing? So when we're doing that assessment, when a kid first comes into our clinic, we're looking at all those pieces. The assessments we choose, as it says, we're gonna do those based on their age. We do a parent intake document, so we're looking at that before they come in so that we can see what skills the parents are saying they have strengths in and deficits in as well, and what are some needed skills. So if it's an 8-year-old kiddo coming in that mom's saying they're having social skill issues, we'll do the social skills assessment with the SSIS, or we typically do an adaptive assessment for all kids, like the AVAS or the Vineland or something like that. And then the BB map is that right now that big assessment that typically we're doing with our younger kids too, that goes through all the different areas from requesting to reading to math to following directions, the visual performance and matching and sorting skills and all that. So again, it just depends on what that child's age is and where their functioning level is, and that's how we're doing those assessments, making sure we're hitting all of their areas that they need assessed. On top of that, so that's that skills piece of it, then we get into that behavior piece of it too. So we always have a little blank data sheet, our baseline data sheet when we're in assessments of parents might have said, okay, they engage in A, B, and C data, or behaviors, so we're working on that, but we might see some other behaviors too, so we're collecting that data, so as we write our treatment plans, we know, okay, well, we saw this hitting today, though mom and dad said he wasn't hitting at home, or mom and dad said he's hitting a lot at home, but he never hit when he was with us, something like that. So we've got that information. In our intake assessment, we're asking parents, well, what does it look like? How often is it happening? When is it happening? Is it happening with a certain person, or a certain time of day, or in a certain area of the house, things like that. Trying to pull as much as we can so that we can start to formulate some type of hypothesis and plan in our head as we go. And then we're, like I said, the data collection piece of it, depending on the behavior, we might take some frequency data. How often is it happening? Just tally it every time it's going on. The duration, how long is it happening? We'll get really into the ABC data collection, but it's the antecedent behavior consequence, what happened before, during, and after it.
Come on in.
Sorry.
Oh, great. Please. Thank you. Can you? Sure. Go ahead.
So once we've gone through those assessments, then we do our treatment plan. We're taking into consideration everything that we've assessed, from the skills down to the behavior piece of it, daily living skills, social skills, communication, all of that. And we're summarizing that and saying, okay, well, this is what our plan is, and this is how we're going to increase the skills we want to teach, and how we're going to decrease those skills that are proving to be problematic for their learning and impeding their learning as well. With those, we're always looking forward to, okay, what does this child have to do to transition out of services? What are those discharge criteria as well? And then, of course, our recommendation to treatment hours and the integrity piece of it and intensity. Typically, insurance companies are having us redo everything every 6 months, so we're doing a lot of assessments, which is good. I pulled some of our, if you like us on Facebook and on Instagram, you'll see some of these pictures are from there. But I do think it captures, what we're doing too, and the importance of not just ABA, but just helping families in general, no matter if it's a child with autism or just a kid that's hurt on a soccer field, right? But we can't compare our kids to other kids either, so. Your kid is yours and he's special. The first thing that we start planning for is reinforcement. Our research tells us that, if we can reinforce those appropriate behaviors, we're going to see some increases in appropriateness. We're going to learn those skills faster. But what is reinforcement? How do you get to it? It's finding that thing that child really enjoys, that motivates them, that keeps them going, that they're okay working towards. We do a lot of earning things, kind of that nothing is for free. You've got to do A so that you can go do C type of thing. Some examples of reinforcers, typical ones you might see, the little ones are candies, toys, hugs, tickles, all that kind of stuff. But the reality of the situation is the person's not going to have somebody walking behind them every day of their life with a piece of Twix, right? So we start in those areas with those edibles and things like that, and then we transition to something that's a little bit more natural too, of hopefully getting to just that awesome thumbs up, or again in that general ed classroom, you got an A on your test today. Good job, buddy. We keep on going. As adults, our reinforcement is our paychecks, right? We love our jobs. We would do it anyways probably, but our paycheck keeps the bills going, so we keep on going to work, right? For me, I think the biggest thing with reinforcement is knowing that just because one 5-year-old likes it doesn't mean the other 5-year-old's gonna like it. And just because that child liked it at 8 a.m. doesn't mean they're gonna like it at 8:05. So really, that's what we do a lot of what we call preference assessments, and figuring out, okay, what do these kids like? What do they want to work for? What's going to motivate them? Once we figure out that motivation, we're able to start doing our work really, really well too. But of course, that motivation, if you're not motivated, there's not much coming, right? So what is behavior? We're looking at what do we need to increase, what do we need to decrease. Of course, behavior is anything that somebody does, right, or something does. But when we're looking at the problem behaviors to decrease, again, we have to figure out what it is that we're looking at. There's those big, huge words like tantrum and non-compliance and things, but then there's the smaller words that actually describe what that behavior is in itself: hitting, kicking, biting, throwing an object, things like that. So we have to make sure that we're defining them properly. When we define them, they need to be clear and concise, measurable, observable, something that we can see and understand. And the point of that definition is that, if I write it, then Carrie's able to pick that sheet up and go into that area and say, oh yeah, that Joe's engaging in blah, blah, blah behavior. I see it, perfect as day. If she's confused on what that definition means, then it's not a clear definition, right? And going back to data, if you're taking data, you might have some skewed data because people are taking it different ways. So here are some examples, and then the next slide is audience participation, so start thinking of some behaviors you can throw at me. But for example, for the hitting, I typically like to put in any instance or attempt, because hopefully we're able to stop the attempts of a hitting or of a hit or something like that. Obviously, we don't want to just let them hit us, so we try to block those. But so I typically say any instance or attempt of Sally using an open fist, because you can hit with a closed fist, you can hit with a stick, right? You can hit with a lot of things. So using an open, an open hand, not really an open fist, an open hand with force against another person. And sometimes if I need to, I'll put in an extra piece of, it doesn't mean this part, so like this. It does not include a high five. So somebody walked in and somebody's trying to give a high five, it could look aggressive to somebody that doesn't know what's going on in the situation, but we don't want that kid to get dinged on something because they gave a nice high five, but it looks like it. Whereas, a definition that we need work on is Sally punching another student in the face. Okay, it's got to be in the face, but what does that mean? And what I think of a punch might be something different than what Carrie is thinking of a punch as well. So we just need to make sure we're on the same page. Sitting on opposite sides of the room, when you're taking that data together, you've got the same data, that IOA, the inter-observer agreement, saying, yes, we both saw that same behavior this many times. Another example of non-compliance, any instance or attempt of Sally looking away or saying no when given a direction. Again, non-compliance is that big umbrella term for different behaviors, but I specifically said she's looking away and or saying no. So it could be two different things versus her just not doing her work. And not doing her work could mean a lot of things. She could get up and walk away. She could put her head down on the table, right? So again, just specifically identifying what it is that you're really looking for and what that person is doing. So, can't go wrong with this guy, right? Any examples you want to throw at me? You try to work through them.
So some of the behaviors, the non-compliant behaviors, or
there's something that y'all experience and you experience in your day-to-day life.
What about so my nephew, I don't know if he has IDD, but maybe. He refuses to wear underwear as one of his behaviors. So
they say because it doesn't like the fabric, like the feel of it.
Is he able to tell you why, or just...
like sometimes he's hot, sometimes he doesn't like to feel it's too thick. Yeah, so.
It's a common one.
Texture.
We see that a lot in
Yeah.
trying to find the right one that fits. With that you can work on a program of, he's got to start wearing it for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, kind of work his way up to it, helping with choices. Do you want to wear A or B? Which one do you want to wear? I think the biggest part of it too, and I don't know when he's refusing to put on the underwear, he starts to cry or scream or do any of that stuff, but teaching that appropriate communication skill on that of, not today, Mom. Can I choose a different one? I want Spider-Man instead of Iron Man or something, but just teaching that what we call replacement behaviors, and we'll get to that too, but that functional communication piece of it, and just slowly working into the clothes piece of it. Those are hard things because you could just sit there and be like, nope, you're putting underwear on today, and you're in a subject, but it's a battle you're gonna fight every day. So we got to get to the point where he's okay with wearing it. With underwear, it's kind of an important piece to wear, so we don't want to go too slow with those things. But still, we have to learn it. It's okay to say no, but these are things that we have to do, and we'll get there. Just how to plan it. Actually, it's a good example. Making me think I'm into it.
I think I've came across a child who he pretends like he doesn't want to back but he'll do it. Like
Gotcha.
eventually,
Yeah.
Be like anything. Like he would say, "Come or do this." That's the typical response.
Right.
Eventually, so they do it. They do it eventually.
Yeah.
But that first part of it, where I think it's
And that fine. No, I don't want to do it. Okay, fine. I guess I'll do it. Type of thing. We see a lot of that being when we go to functions, that attention behavior. That okay, well, if I shrug, if I go, oh man, somebody's gonna really encourage me to keep on going. So it might be, if it is attention-seeking behavior, it might be ignoring that piece and just representing that direction, or immediately prompting through something, or and then giving some type of visual support of a schedule or choices. Do you want to do A or do you want to do B right now? This is your choice. Now let's keep on going. Giving transition warnings of, okay, we're gonna have to go do blah 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 next. Be prepared for it. But like I said, if it's attention, trying not to give too much attention to that, the shrug, the oh man. But then when they do get up and go, it's, oh, I love how you follow my direction so nicely. Let's keep on going and let's go. So that attention is being drawn towards the appropriate behavior versus that the problem behavior. Anybody else?
Well, so my son is a bit of a clown sometimes. He, speaking of attention, he loves attention. Thrives on it. He lives on it, and he knows. He's been Googling his symptoms, Tourette's. So lately he's been blurting out profanity and using Tourette's as an excuse,
Right.
even though we all know that he has a mild form. And so I guess we're trying to figure out, how to mitigate that.
Yeah. Those are hard because it's taking it back to like the younger kids, really, like when you get a 3-year-old cursing trying to do a puzzle, it's totally inappropriate, but it's funny at the same time because they're saying that curse word appropriately. I can't get this in, so I'm gonna say something about it, right? So for us, it's holding in that laugh, trying not to give attention to it and just skirting right over it. But for an older child, if you're able to have that conversation too, of this is appropriate, this is inappropriate. But also, the attention piece of it goes right back to it of, if you're gonna curse, but I'm not gonna pay attention to you, to that behavior at this point. I'll talk to you about other things, but if you curse, I'm gonna just keep on going, until,
Just ignore it.
Just ignore it, yeah. We do a little attend, ignore, kind of like a basketball pivot of, okay, I'm gonna attend to you and what you're doing when you're being appropriate. The moment you start doing something inappropriate, I'm gonna pivot away. Not necessarily literally pivot away and don't see them, but pivot from that behavior, and I'm not gonna address that, and keep on going.
Yes, ma'am. So what about like when they remove themselves? Like if you say
things I see, and I, even just as a parent myself, making sure that when I give that direction, I'm right there ready to prompt through that and get that that compliance. I know as a parent, it's, I remember this as a kid actually, my mom screaming, kids, dinner's ready, and we come downstairs and dinner was not ready. It was just, she wanted us in the kitchen to hang out with her, right? But then as we realized what she was doing, it was like, okay, all right, we'll go down in 10 minutes, right? We're watching Saved by the Bell, Mom. We can't come downstairs yet. But our kids realize that okay, well, she doesn't really mean it yet. She's told me once and she hasn't come to get me yet, so let us keep on going. So making sure definitely when you give that direction, you're right there ready to go in and if you need to help them, prompt them through to go into the kitchen, to sit down, whatever that is. If you're giving that direction and you're right there and you're still not making progress with it, looking at, okay, what can I do before I give that direction? What we call those the antecedent manipulations or strategies to get them ready for those transitions, get them ready for those directions coming. And know, okay, first we do this and then we do this. First we eat dinner, then we, get to watch TV, or then we get to have dessert, or whatever that then is, that reinforcer piece of it too. And it might be, based on age too, a 3-year-old coming to dinner doesn't need to sit for 30 minutes at the dinner table, right? So maybe let's just sit, take 5 bites, and then you can go play. Okay, now come back and take 5 more bites, and then you can go play, type of thing. I know that, we're taught you guys sit and eat your whole dinner at one time, and you can never get up and move. But the reality of little kids, you've gotta move. You just can't sit. So, something like that, and breaking it up so he knows, okay, these are my little goals that I have to hit. And then over time it's, okay, well, it's 5 bites, now it's 10 bites, or it's 2 minutes, now it's 5 minutes, now it's 7 minutes, now it's 10 minutes, something like that. But yeah, the hardest part is getting him to the table. So figuring out what that reinforcer, that motivator is at the table. So if it's, he won't even come to it, it's, okay, well, once you get to the table, you get blah, blah, blah. Okay, now you take 5 bites, you get blah, blah, blah. You take 5 more, you get another blah, blah, blah. That helps. Anybody know the function of that screen? Just kidding. Rough crowd, guys. Jeez. So the ABC data collection is what's going to help us figure out why. ABC is antecedent behavior consequence. The antecedent is what happens right before that behavior happens. So what was going on in that room? What was going on with that child? What was happening? Was a direction given? Was there a weird noise that happened? Was the child just playing by himself? Did the ice cream truck roll by? What just happened right before it? The behavior, of course, is the behavior that is in question or of concern. And then consequence is what happened right after it. Consequence doesn't mean like you're in trouble, you get a consequence. Consequence is just that next piece of it, that C of it. It's just, like it says exactly what happened right after it. It could be a reaction from somebody. It can be they got out of something. It could be nothing happened at all. But it just immediately, within that seconds, right after the behavior happened, what happened there. Typically that's the why. The consequence is what is reinforcing this behavior and why it keeps on going. So these are just some examples of what we might see, in a classroom or at a home when we come in and look at where behaviors are getting reinforced and why. So the behavior, the first one is hitting, right? So James hits Grace. What happened right before it? The teacher was playing with Grace. I guess I could have written was not playing with James as well, but just the teacher was playing with Grace. And then James hit Grace, and the teacher turned to James and said, stop. So he's getting something out of it, right? Nobody was paying attention to him. He hit somebody. Though it was a reprimand of don't do that, he's still getting something out of it. So potentially, if it's attention maintained, he's learning, when I hit somebody, I get something for it, right? Do you think he'll keep going? He might do it again.
Attention, yeah.
If that's what's reinforcing to him, yeah. James throws his clothes across the room. So what happened right before? Mom gave him that direction, clean up your room. What happened right after? he throws his clothes, mom says, oh, forget it, just don't do it, I'll just do it myself. What? Alright, if I throw my clothes, I don't have to do it anymore, right, mom? Okay. James and his mom are in line at the grocery store. We see this how many times when you're at the grocery store, right? Kiddo wants some candy, and a lot of times you say, hey, if you just stop crying, I'll just give you that piece of candy. That's fine, that's fine. The kids, I am guilty of that as well for my own children. It's an easy because everybody's staring at you. Why is your kid screaming? What is going on? What's wrong with you, right? So just take the piece of candy, please. We're teaching our kids, well, if you scream in the grocery cart line or checkout line, you get a piece of candy. And then the last one is James just hanging out, doing his own thing. He throws some toys in his room. Oh wait, I changed that, sorry. He lines up his cars in his room, and he just keeps on going. There's nothing that happens necessarily, but it's just that more automatically reinforcing thing. He just likes to do that. He's playing with his toys. It's just, like I said, that automatic reinforcing behavior. It might be that stereotypy that we see, that self-stimulatory behavior. But there isn't anything that somebody did necessarily after it. It just, he likes it, so he's gonna keep on going. Y'all heard me say, attention, escape, denied access, automatic. These are the functions of behavior. This is what, this is the meat of what we do as behavior analysts. We're trying to figure out the why behind what our kids are doing. Why are they doing it? We can't write an appropriate behavior plan and treatment goals if we don't know the why. We can hypothesize all day, but we've got to figure out the why. So I'll go into detail about, as much as I can in an hour presentation, about what the attention looks like. But our attention maintained behaviors are really hit this picture. That's why I put it in there of, was kids banging on those pots trying to get mom's attention or dad's attention while they're in the kitchen, or that mom, when your kid's perfectly fine, chilling, doing what he needs to do, playing, and then the phone rings, mom, right? Dad, sorry. Trying to include. So that's what attention maintained behavior is. They're trying to get your attention, and you're turning and giving it to them when they're doing inappropriate things or those problem things. Of course, we want them to learn how to ask appropriately, right, for your attention. The other flip side of it is, you're getting attention, a lot of attention, but you also might be lacking attention too. So the example I thought I had on there earlier was he's by himself in his room, he throws toys outside, mom comes in and says, what's going on? He just got mom's attention, right? Because he did something that he wasn't supposed to do. So it might be there's too much attention, there's not enough attention, where we come in and figure out what it is. Let's see. So that example, like I said, with the hitting of the friend, again, if that kid only gets attention when they're hitting, that kid learns, well, that's how I get attention. So the next one is escape maintained behavior. Escape means basically getting out of something. So a lot of times we give them a direction, like go clean your room or do this worksheet or dinner table. They're engaging behaviors to not do that, just because they don't want to do it this time, right? So we're working on, how do we get them to follow those directions as well. Engaging them to decrease the work and the task that's assigned to them, or just to not do it at all. Let's see. Any questions on escape behaviors? Again, it can be anything. It could be a hit, it can be a kick, it can be a flip of the desk, it can be just like, no thanks, I don't want to do that right now. But any of those I don't want to do this because you told me to do it behavior. If we continue to allow that child to get out of their work when they're doing that behavior, they're going to learn, oh, well, I just have to have that behavior and I don't have to do what they're telling me to do. I'm trying to stay in the green box. Am I good?
You're good.
I'm good. Okay, good. The next one is denied access or tangible. That kid wants something. And the easiest way for me to explain it is, I'm just being a mean mom because I said no. No, you can't have it. Sorry, it's just not available. It's not even in the house. Or no, you can't have the chocolate cake before you have your chicken nuggets or whatever for dinner. But they're denied access to something that they really want. And that's hard for kids, no matter what, if they have autism or not. It's just when you're told no as a kid, or even as an adult at times, no is just a hard word to accept, right? But if we allow them access to that item after we've said no, and then they start crying, then they learn, oh, I'll just start crying and mom will give me that thing, or the teacher will give me that thing, or dad will give me this thing. So again, teaching them how to handle no, how to wait for things like that. And the last function is automatically reinforcing behavior. So again, that's that self-stereotypy, that self-stimulatory behavior. Common things, with our children with autism might be rocking or doing this with their fingers, lining things up, watching the fan, or fluorescent lights and things like that. Just something that's repetitive. When we target those behaviors, we're targeting the ones that are. So every single one of us engages in some type of self-stimulatory behavior. I'm going to pick on you, Anna, but you're shaking your foot. That is your self-stimulatory behavior, but I'm not going to tell you never to do that because it's a very natural behavior. It's not impeding your learning. I mean, you could be singing a song by tapping your foot and not paying attention, right? But it's not impeding your life. But a child engaging in other behaviors might be impeding their learning, and they're not able to concentrate when they're doing those things. They might not be able to have a conversation when they're engaging in those behaviors. So those are the ones that we're targeting of how to decrease those, but then we're giving them something to do instead. We're not changing who that person is or what they're able to do. We're just helping them be more functional in their life. One of the things I always look at is that social significance, like we talked about. Our goal is to get them back in their general education classroom as much as possible, right? One piece that might stop them is, or not even necessarily stop them, but have them stand out if they're engaging in a repetitive behavior that in another child's eyes, well, that's awkward. Why are they doing that behavior? So again, there's that stigma, but we're trying to reduce that stigma by teaching them this is when you can do it, this is when you can't do it, or when you shouldn't do it. But again, if it's impeding their learning, if it's going to impede their friendship, things like that, that's when we would start looking at decreasing those behaviors. Not just because, well, I don't like that he does that. If it's not causing them harm in any way, then we're gonna target other things first. Let's see. Oh, I did want to touch on, where'd it go? They can obviously be very, simple behaviors, like I said, like rocking or moving their fingers or lining up cards or something like that. But the self-injurious behaviors can also come into play when there's self-stimulatory behaviors too. And those are obviously, banging head or biting people or themselves. Those are big ones as well. And of course we would target those 100%. But I just want to make sure that y'all knew the self-stimulatory doesn't have to just be a simple non-damaging behavior, I guess. Other self-stim can cause damage. You had a question? Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all of that. The next couple of slides are going to be, okay, well now what? We figured out what the function is, so what do we do next? So I'll give you some examples, some ideas and things too, and we can talk through some of it. So like I said, now we've taken that ABC data, we've determined, okay, well he's engaging in hitting behavior because he wants to escape this work task that he's been given, or cleaning his room or dinner or whatever that is. Well, now we need to figure out, okay, well, what do we teach him? What's that replacement behavior? What can we do before he does that behavior to help him be more successful? What do we do after those consequence strategies? So if he does actually engage in that behavior, what are our responses to that? And of course, how do we take that data collection to make sure that we're seeing that progress? And hopefully not, but that lack of progress if it's not working. So the antecedent manipulations or strategies, these are, again, what we're going to do before that behavior occurs. While we're taking that ABC data, we're looking for those precursor behaviors, or, what is that, what does he do right before? For a kiddo that maybe is, at home, or at a desk working, maybe he starts to get a little fidgety before he just pushes the worksheets off the table. So we know as he starts to get fidgety, maybe we want to prompt him to do something else. But knowing those pieces of it, the font's a little bit small on up here. Sorry about that, guys. So for attention behaviors, we want to teach that child how to ask for attention appropriately. We want to give them attention as much as possible when they are engaging in those problem behaviors, so that they don't even necessarily have to ask for attention because they're getting it. And then on the flip side, which is not up here, but if they're getting too much attention, teaching them how to say, okay, I need space, personal space, back off of me for a little bit, please, without being rude about it, right? Escaping a demand, so again, we want to give them choices. Do you want to do A or B? I know both aren't really exciting for you right now, but we got to do one of them. So which one do you want to do? Which one's better for you? Using a visual schedule of showing, okay, these are the things we're doing today. We're gonna put check mark next to them, or even to, okay, well, from 8 to 8:10, we're gonna do this. From 8:10 to 8:25, we're gonna do this, so that they can prepare and know what's going on ahead of time. Those visual schedules, of course, making sure that they're appropriate for that child too, or adult. I keep saying child because I work with kids, but again, it can be with anybody. Demand fading, so we might reduce the way back up to what it was. So if we see, you know what, if we're presenting this this task with 20 things he needs to do on it, and the moment he sees that piece of paper with 20 things, the table is going over. Okay, well, maybe we should start with 2 things and work our way back up, or maybe just 1 thing and work our way back up to that. Denied access, we want to establish some rules and expectations. So no, when you go in the grocery store, when we finish grocery shopping and you follow mommy's directions, then you can have blah, blah, blah. And maybe having a little check mark, a little token board saying, okay, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, good job. Or if they're able to check off that grocery list for you, knowing, when is it going to be done? Because I'm sure we all know grocery shopping, it's never done, right? You think you're finished, but it takes 5 hours. Let's see. Teaching them how to respond to no and how to wait. That's, again, not just an Austin thing. Kids just no and wait are hard. So just really, okay, when I say no, this is what that means. You can maybe have it later, but at this moment you can't. Let's keep going. Why don't we do this instead? And then the automatic behavior, so giving that free access to leisure activities, something, giving them free access to it. It's okay to do that. And then increase the response effort it takes to do that behavior. So more intrusive to their life, making it harder for them to do it. So, if they are a skin picker, maybe always having them doing something with their hands so that they're not able to pick at their skin because they're engaged in something. So there's lots of different ways, but we want to just try to change the beforehand, basically, so that we're not having to even engage in those behaviors and basically prevent them from happening because they've learned something else to do. And then learning something else to do is this replacement behavior. So it's great if we get those behaviors down to 0, but if we don't give that child something to do instead, we didn't do our job correctly. So some, let's see, the big part of when you choose a replacement behavior is making sure you are choosing behavior that they get the same input from. So, with, let me think of an example. If they're hitting for attention, letting them know this is how you get attention versus, well, you raise your hand, but you don't get called on it anyways. That's not going to work, right? So making sure that they're getting that same piece of it, but just in an appropriate way. So these are some examples of replacement. Like I said, hitting for attention, they're raising their hand and getting called on. Irregular hand movements, maybe squeezing a stress ball instead. So with during circle time or something, instead of a kid going like this, that other kids might be watching, maybe give them a small stress ball or a small toy to play with in circle time. That it's small, it's kind of a little covert operation there, but they're still able to pay attention. They're getting that input that they need of moving their hands and things, but they're able to participate and attend, and kids aren't, they're not distracting other kids, and kids are able to not think anything different about them as well. Hitting to get out of a demand, learning how to ask for a break. We do a lot of break procedures, and it's hard when you first start because we want to make sure every time they ask for a break in the beginning, they get that break. So it might be 20 times they ask for a break within 5 minutes, but it's okay, we're learning, and then we'll start to increase that demand, those demands that we're placing. Crying for candy, again, learning how to wait instead of having that crying piece of it. What I didn't put up on here, and it's pretty important, is the functional communication part of it. Is, again, you can teach them how to do other things, but we have to make sure that they have some type of functional communication system, so that they can tell you why they want something, when they want something, where they want it, or why no isn't gonna work, right? They need to know how to express themselves too. Like I said earlier with a break, when we teach it, that replacement behavior, always give access to it. They need to, that's really hard sometimes for teachers because you've got other kiddos there, right? And they want attention too, or they want to answer a question as well. But trying really hard to do that. In the home, it's hard, especially, you know, you're not able to be around your child every moment of the day. So there's always something else going on in the house that you need to see, right? But really trying hard, if you're going to work on a program, dedicate that time and really focus on it. And then, let's see, always provide reinforcement for any and all other appropriate behaviors. So we want to make sure we're keeping that reinforcement up so that they learn kind of doing these great things, even just those okay behaviors of just chilling on the couch and they're just hanging out, nothing good, nothing bad, just relaxing. I love how you're just hanging out. You want to do something with mom, or you want to do blah blah or something. But any questions?
I think in
Yeah.
the earlier slide.
Sure.
Can you give me an example of how do you teach about learning to wait for an item instead of?
Yeah. So we
how
do.
does that look?
So it's small waiting, maybe 1 second. But you know, if they, you know, cut please, thanks for asking, wait 1 second, or wait please, and then it just literally, we start at maybe 1 or 2 seconds, and you count 1, 2. Okay, thanks for waiting. Here you go. If they didn't wait please. Typically, we'll have a number of times that we go through that, how many times they will wait before they access it. But we just start on small time periods and then increase it as they go. The same with the break piece of it too. They immediately get that break. Then maybe, okay, well, 2 more problems, 3 more problems. Well, you need to finish your worksheet and then you can have a break, something like that. But again, in the beginning, it's very quick. They get it and they keep going. And then as they start to master that skill, we fade that piece out. Waiting's hard for me. The waiting part is really hard when you get into multiple minutes too, because then it's, okay, well, you waited 2.5 of those 3 minutes. You know, we're doing something else, but now you're asking about it again, or now you're engaging behavior, and now we've got to restart that timer for you to wait if needed. You know, so it can get a little tricky as you get further along. But the 1 to 10 seconds is usually really easy, as a clinician to do. It's hard for the kids. It's hard. Any other questions? Okay. I keep forgetting this thing's on and I keep moving. So consequent strategies based on the function. So what do we do? Well, if the behavior happened, so we changed these antecedents, it didn't work, or we didn't get to adjust something because it happened so quickly, but whatever reason is, the behavior happened, so now what do we do on the other end of it? Even with those escape behaviors, we want to keep working on those break procedures. So it might be we're doing a full prompt of, you're asking for this break, give me this card, you're in this behavior, give me that card right now so that we can keep on going. Practicing the program throughout the day, when he's not engaged in it, prompt the correct response at the first signs of that behavior. This is more of an antecedent piece of it, but look at the child's schedule and environment to determine what's aversive to him, so that, you know, as things are coming up, if you know that's going to be more aversive, you can adjust what's going on, get him ready to be prepared for that behavior, and can it be changed? So some things to adjust might be modifying tasks. Again, I'm a big believer in the break program, as you can see. I think I've said it 20 times already. Is material too hard for him or her? Are they there? Do they have splinter skills that, you know, just because they can do A and D doesn't mean that they can do all the other things in between it sometimes. We see that in our assessments too. With the escape is also, and I'm not sure why I missed this on here, but prompt through those things. So if you know that they're trying to get out of something, through it with them. We use typically least to most prompting procedures, so we might gesture to something, we might do a model of, you know, write your name, and right here, this is how you write your name, and then we might do a partial prompt of helping them get their hands forward, and then a full prompt would be taking their hand in our hand and guiding them along to do that. Not in a restraint form or anything like that, just this is how we need to do it, and as they start to do it, then we release and fade off as well and go in and out as we need to. But the big piece of escape is just prompting through and redirecting back to that task. It's a big point I left off on the actual PowerPoint. Attention maintaining behaviors. We talked about then attending and ignoring. That plain ignoring is called extinction, so we're putting something on extinction. We're not paying attention to it. To the behavior, again, I put in caps. You're still paying attention to the person. You have to know that they're safe and they're okay. But you're just not paying attention to, like you said, with your son, the cursing part of it. I'm not gonna address that you just said blah 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 to me. I'm gonna address that you said, you know, the sky is blank blue. Yeah, the sky is blue. It's a beautiful blue today, isn't it? And just keep on going with that piece. Let's see. In my experience, the ignoring is more difficult on us than it is on our kids. Again, because ignoring doesn't mean just not addressing it, but it means the whole body part of it too. Something might be hysterically funny that they did, but keeping that neutral face and just moving right past it. It's definitely more challenging on us. Those behaviors that are frustrating for us as an adult, of that mom, that your instinct just wants to be like, stop calling my name, I heard you the first time. Walking away, trying to ignore it as much as possible, or responding to it the first time that they call your name. And it's more difficult on us because we're trying to work through it. Let's see. In a given situation, student engages in the previously reinforced behavior and behavior is not followed by a reinforcing consequence, then the student's less likely to do it. So if he doesn't get that attention, he's less likely to do it in the future. And then the extinction burst, just giving you all a heads up that as you start to work on these behaviors, you might see the behaviors increase. And part of that is you're changing that kid's life at this moment. Oh, you're good. You, for 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, they've been allowed to do blah, blah, blah. And now you're coming in saying, you can't do it anymore. So they're going to try to do all these other behaviors possibly that they've gotten away with in the past, and you're still going to stay strong. You're still going to keep on with your plan, and eventually they're coming back down off that behavior, and know that when they are appropriate, that's when they get that attention from y'all. Oh, I'm right at 12. Do you want me to keep going? All right.
Whatever content.
I can go faster. Tangible and denied access to things. Those consequences are really for you is sorry. I said no, you can't have it, maybe next time. And again, staying strong is harder for the parents. Ignoring those inappropriate behaviors. So, you know, when I'm leaving, sorry buddy, let's go. And keep on going there with it. And then of course model the correct response when you're able to, depending on that situation. The automatically reinforcing behaviors depends on what you're looking at. You want to make sure that, you know, you're giving the support that they need. If you can shape a more naturally appropriate behavior, then that's what we'd like to do. But most of the time, if they're not in danger by engaging those behaviors, it's just going with it or telling them, oh, you need to wait until you get to blah blah blah, and then you can do that. I like memes. Everybody likes a good meme, right? They've got some good ABA ones out there these days. So, again, the attention piece. You want me to raise my hand, but you never call on me when my hand is raised? I'll just scream instead, right? If you bite him, he'll give you the eye patting to calm down, right? So, I've got some real life examples that we've done, but if y'all have other questions about ones, I can talk about those instead. I don't want to keep that too long.
Well, it sounds like you've got a good example. Like, so this is a great time to ask, like, okay, my child does this. What do I do? Right? Go for it. Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
I think a lot of it's meal.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cooking. And then when he sees if it's not what he wants, it's like, no, yeah, I want oatmeal. I don't care if it's
you to the visual supports. Let's see. So visual supports, I guess I should take a step backwards. They're basically just a visual representation of what you're trying to tell them sometimes, and so that they know what's going on. So visual supports can be a schedule so that they know what's going on. It can be like we talked about that first then board. It can be some type of token board so they know when they do these things they get this. It can be a choice board of, for dinner, do you want A or do you want B? Those types of things. So these are just some examples of it. In real life, this PowerPoint is your visual support, right? So it might be, this is a task analysis of what to do to get ready in the morning. So you gotta brush your teeth, you gotta brush your hair, get dressed, take a bath or shower, I guess, and head out to school, maybe the other way. I'm not gonna take a shower after you get dressed. But those are some things that you need to do. But if it's possible, at dinner time, you can give him an option. Do you want A or do you want B for dinner? Giving him a little one that's more preferred than the other. Maybe if oatmeal is not an option ever, then don't give him the option, but maybe he does like and something that he maybe likes a little bit, but that you're still okay with for dinner. Giving him those choices. But putting in some type of program that he knows, okay, well, when I do this, I get that reinforcement for it. Because I'm sure right now it's just a battle